So I will say I don't have a lot of experience with EAL learners. So with my brief knowledge on that one, what I have worked with them, we've used Google Translate to help with language barriers and having pictures to support their questions. I would try to use less wordy questions, so more straightforward questioning so it doesn't get lost in translation the same. And then obviously pre-teaching vocabulary is super important. And the more you can have pictures to support that, the more it will help for sure. For EIIPs, those help drive your assessments, especially if they have academic goals or reduced curriculum. So depending on what their individualized plans are, it might actually already have your assessment driven for you. However, if it's more behavior goals or communication goals, then that's going to alter how you assess the student. So I try in class to have multiple levels of assessments. So a range of question amounts is important. So some students get overwhelmed by the amount of questions that are on their page. So if you can physically cut up or have separate questions on separate pieces of paper and give students them one at a time, even though it's the same test, sometimes just having the ability to focus on that one question reduces distraction, and reduces the overwhelm the student feels for how much they actually have to do. Also, question difficulty would change depending on the student. And I'll go back to that one after. So highlighting, I have a student right now that has me highlight information that we're doing for questions, or we highlight together what she thinks the important information is or the terms, and that helps her focus in on those terms and get less distracted. And then, like I said, only one section at a time is great for a lot of students too, as well as breaks or scribes. And like I said before, read the curriculum, because there's nothing wrong with having a set of notes or a helper sheet with a student to kind of give them cues to remember how they did different questions previously. I don't like the word cheat sheet because I think it has negative connotations for that. So I think a helper sheet is better. It doesn't even have to be just certain students. Feel free to have the whole class have the same notes or have the same sheets. And then certain students will rely on them more and certain students will rely on them less. But particularly, I'm speaking from a middle years perspective, it's a big deal for kids this age to look different. So I do my best to minimize how different they might look at any given time, because I have students sometimes that won't use supports because it makes them stand out or look different from the other kids. So I try to make it blend in or be inside a binder to help them feel more comfortable. Also, going back to what a curriculum is asking you, looking at science. So you could do a hands-on assessment. Students who have trouble writing things down or just need to get up and move a lot more are great at hands-on assessments usually. So if science is asking you in grade 7 about mixtures, mechanical mixtures and solutions, well, does it say that they need to write a definition of what a mechanical mixture is and what a solution is? Could you use pictures to assist if you wanted to have a handwritten test to help support your students? Or I've done before, given a student or a few students a table of supplies. Can you create a mechanical mixture from these supplies? Can you create a solution? Is it more work? Absolutely. Is it more fun for them and more successful for them? Even more so. Last year I had a student, as you know, our classroom complexity is sometimes a large range. And last year for me was probably the biggest range I've ever had. So I had a student with reduced curriculum that was probably working most times at a kindergarten, maximum grade 2 level in a grade 7 classroom. And then I had students working at a grade 12 level academically, like the questions they were asking sometimes bordered university type questions. So we were writing a narrative story, and my student who was working at a lower level at that time didn't have the capacity to write a story. So we embraced, I love ChatGPT, and we find ways to use it appropriately in the classroom. Obviously, for most students, having ChatGPT write your story is not appropriate, and especially if they try to cover it up. But for this student, we came together and we created what his story looked like. So, what were the main points of his story that he could tell me? Who were his characters that he was excited about? What happened? What was the problem, solution, if he could do that part two, and how it would end? And we took that information and we put it into ChatGPT for it to create a story. And we required ChatGPT to make the story the same amount of length as his peers. So, curriculum wise and assessment wise, he wasn't able to write a story the same as his peers, and he was on reduced curriculum. So, that is fine. However, in the classroom, he doesn't want to appear different either. So we got ChatGPT to write his story, and he was so excited and felt so successful that he had gone through and written a story the same as his peers, and he went around and shared it with all of his peers. It was typewritten just like theirs, and he could share the story for them to read. So did he reach curriculum for grade 7? No. Did he show me, though, that I was able to write as an assessment or notes in his report card? He showed me that he could tell me or describe a character. He showed me that he could tell me what a problem in the story could be or what the setting looked like. So those are pieces of assessment information that I can use to write in his report card for his parents to see, and for future teachers to be able to see what he can create, even if he can't create the same as everybody else.